Are there strange lights that follow travelers at night? Can ghostly apparitions appear on roadsides? Does a boy stuck under a bridge return your lost change? Today we test the believability of haunted roads.
Welcome to Believing the Bizarre,
Where we dive into the unknown and the unusual
and tell you whether or not we find it believable.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the season. This is
the season.
the season with the pumpkins and
With
the candy
pumpkins,
and the scary things.
the scary things, the ghosts, the horror movies, the horror podcasts.
Yeah, you've picked the right time to tune in, I'll tell you.
And you know what? This topic, unless you're Amish, which you can't really be listening to us, technically, maybe secondhand listening to us, but this applies to everyone. We're talking about roads here.
Yeah.
Streets.
So I've got 4 streets I wanna
Imagine
talk
if
about.
streets were like literally like, I was going to say dangerous, but they are. Like, you know what I mean?
They are.
But I mean, like, what if it was like every time you went on a street, like just you knew like something really, really bad could happen?
I mean,
I don't know why I'm thinking like the sand thing, like in Beetlejuice.
oh,
I just mean like if there was like monsters or dangerous things on the road, but like,
okay.
like I really need milk and eggs.
I think
And
that's the idea behind like Mad Max.
I never saw that. Fury Road.
Yeah. Anyway, so before we get started, I want to thank our patron, Meredith.
Meredith Grey.
Thank you for
Probably not
joining.
Meredith Grey.
That'd be really interesting. From Seattle. What?
Is it McDreamy? Is that his?
McDreamy, and then there's McSteamy, and then there's
Oh gosh.
Rip George. Spoilers.
Thanks, Meredith.
Yeah, thank you, Meredith. Yeah, well, that's a whole other tangent. I stopped watching after George. I was like, this show's stupid.
So Meredith, we hope you enjoy all that Patreon has to offer, which is a lot of bonus content, behind the scenes stuff, quizzes, games, extra horror stories, chats with Charlie and I, Netflix movies, horror movie reviews. There is a lot going on. Quizzes on our own stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun over there. But let's focus up on haunted roads.
No.
Why?
No, because before that, we got to let people know
Oh,
that Saturday, October 26th, is our 5th annual Halloween live special. Live as in actually live. Live
Yeah.
on Twitch. So make sure it's free, of course.
And
but-
then that episode will come out the next week.
yeah, it'll come out. You know, you can hear it after the fact.
But
what
come
fun
hang
is,
out
what
with
fun
us.
is that? Yeah, so just make sure you have a Twitch account. It's completely free. Make sure you're following us on Twitch. And that'll be Saturday, October 26th at 9 p.m. Eastern. So dinner time for y'all in California.
Yeah.
Late dinner. Well, actually, probably not that late. Late for me dinner.
It's not in Ohio. It's not going to be in Ohio.
No. We're doing a second year in a row trend of leaving the wonderful state of Ohio.
We're branching out, spreading it.
Spreading them wings.
So now let's talk about some haunted road.
Now we may. What's up?
Do you know why the United States decided to put in the highway system?
Probably because people stopped riding horses and they want to get places.
No, that's not why.
Transportation wasn't why.
No, it's not.
I'm excited to
Well,
hear why.
in a sense it was, but not for civilians. The idea was that they wanted to install this system in the United States. It's why it's in a grid system. That it was the easiest way to transport tanks and military vehicles in case there was ever a war in the United States.
Well, there'll never be a war in the United States.
Well, it was implemented during World War II. The idea was devised during World War II.
There were no streets before World
There
War
were
II?
streets during World War II, not highways.
Oh, okay. We're talking about highways.
I mean, like 77.
Is that what we're talking about
71.
today? Like
No.
highway? Oh, okay.
We're talking about
That's just a
streets.
fun fact.
I'm just telling you
Well,
fun facts.
Okay, I got a fun fact for you.
Okay.
You know I like walking late at night.
I do
I used
know
to walk
that.
my dog. Now I walk alone. You know,
Yeah. Like
and
Green Day.
yeah, that's what I think about. No, but like, you know, every now and then, like I listen to, I did not as much as I used to, but I listen to edits of ours when I'm walking at night.
Yeah.
And I live in a suburban area, and sometimes I get freaked out. And when I'm walking, there's always like this, like every so often, there's just those street lights. And I don't, you did play Alan Wake. You played Alan Wake.
Yeah, for
streaming,
Yeah.
not for believing the bizarre. But I swear, whenever I get creeped out, I just feel like I just got to get under this light. You know what I mean? For like safety. And every
Yeah.
time I walk under
Same
it,
point.
I just imagine that You know, like it's just like, all right, we're safe. We're good.
Were those save points or are they just like save points?
Both. You were safe and it saved the game, I believe.
I think so too. So to get in this episode, I got a lot of sources. I've got National Geographic. I've got Teletrack Navman, Roadrunner Motorcycles and Touring, Midwest Daily News, WRKR.com, MLive.com, review/mag.com, 1019 The Rock, and Weird California.
I feel like we got people listening who like lay pavement and they're like, finally, let's go.
Oh, finally, The Rock. Well, yeah, no, laying pavement.
Concrete, you know.
Mm-hmm. I think The Rock.
Asphalt.
There's a lot of radio stations, which kind of makes sense. Kind of makes sense to me because there's like a lot of local stories in this. So like local radio stations are like, wouldn't it be cool to write a little article about this? Spooky times.
There was asphalt company that I would see their trucks going by, and their slogan was, "If you don't hire us, it's your own asphalt."
I actually really like that slogan. It's really good. So the first story, or the first road we're going to talk about, is in Michigan. It's called Dice Road. So between Signal and Midland, Michigan, sits Dice Road. And 3 places are said to be very haunted on the 13-mile stretch. So the first place is the Iva General Store. And in the 1800s, it was a post office, a store, and a place where locals would gather on Fridays to listen to boxing matches. The town and the area began dying out, unfortunately, from smallpox and diphtheria. So the whole town, including the general store, was so infected with disease that they had to burn it all down, from buildings to bodies. That's it.
Oh.
Now, it's supposed to be very haunted in that area, but...
Well, I guess that makes sense if they're burning bodies and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, listening to boxing sounds terrible.
Well, if you don't have TV...
You got ghosts, like, trying to make noise, like, hey, turn it up, Marty.
I imagine being very... It could be a good time, I think, if there's a lot of people
like,
listening.
Sorry, I'm late. What's going on? Like, they're still walking in. It's Logan Paul. It's been 15 minutes. Or it's Jake Paul.
Yeah.
My bad. Yeah. And then who was
Tyson?
I remember Conor McGregor faced Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Jeez.
I watched that.
The heist. Yeah. I give you a link, right?
I think you did.
Yeah, I did.
So the second haunted point in Dice Road is the Dice Road Cemetery. And this cemetery is known for hosting a lady in white.
Okay.
Now, this is from Review Magazine. They say, quote, "A close friend told me about a ghost named Anna that she saw in the Dice Road Cemetery. I was immediately intrigued. She offered a morsel of the broken legend handed down through the centuries about the ghost of Anna Rhodes Millerton. I began researching the interesting details of her past and the hauntingly sad circumstances surrounding her suicide in 1830. As legend has it, this lost soul spirit wanders the Forest Hill around Dice Road Cemetery in Richfield Township, Saginaw County. Here she waits patiently for her lover's return, perhaps unaware that she's been dead for nearly 200 years. So that's Anna.
I don't believe that one, just to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I remember when we went ghost hunting, it was the theory that, there's a woman in white who... I think people mistake headstones. Like,
As
like
women in
interesting
white?
shape. Well, I mean, they have people-shaped headstones in many cemeteries.
They do.
And whether it's car lights reflecting or you just get freaked out and you look... Not saying that's the case in 100% of these cemeteries. I have my own personal bias that I think it's just people seeing them and getting freaked. Could be wrong. That's just, my own anecdotal thoughts.
That is, but here's the thing. I'm going to spoil it. The only encounters we have from Dice Road are from Anna.
Well, yeah, it's a cemetery. People walk there. So,
yeah.
Well, I'm excited to hear them. I'm going to go in with an open mind.
Before we get there, the last most haunted part of Dice Road is the Pomegranate House poltergeist. Now, this is a quote from the Saginaw News and tells the story. It says, quote, "In 1974, this home on Dice Road in Merrill began experiencing strange events. A Pomeranian family who lived at this home filed dozens of police reports where they described loud poundings on the wall, voices, and even unexplained fires. The Saginaw County Sheriff's Department was baffled. Michigan State Police couldn't figure it out, and universities, priests, and other agencies never found out what was causing this occurrence. Police had put the house under surveillance without the family's knowledge, and researchers and police have stayed overnight in the home. A year later, the case was closed after a fire forced the family to move. The mystery is never solved.
The researchers told him when they were spending the night, though, right?
I don't know.
Oh, jeez.
You wake up, oh, Mom, Dad, there's a ghost.
Yeah, no wonder they thought it was a ghost.
Just some nerd.
It's just the guys camping in the basement with cameras again, honey. Go back to bed.
Yeah, they definitely told him about that part. So Charles Frisbee worked as a sheriff's department from 1971 until he retired as a sergeant in 2000. Frisbee was one of the deputies who would visit the home many times over the next year. He said, quote, I checked the area and I found no evidence that anyone could have been around the house. The noises continued as the Pomeranian continued to call the police. Sometimes, several times a night. At first, it was just complaints that someone was beating on the side of the house, Frisbee said. But on Frisbee's second visit to the Pomeranian house, things got a little strange. He continued by saying, on that stakeout, I was about to give up. Right at that moment, we heard the beating on the house. So we both went around the house. Frisbee said that he and the other deputy saw nothing. We looked for footprints in the mud, but we saw nothing. They thought that it could have been a certain neighborhood kid, but they checked and he was at home. Another time, Frisbee and another deputy brought a canine to the home. The sheriff's departments didn't have a canine unit, so a deputy had trained his own dog. My favorite. When it was time to leave, they had walked closer to the home, but the canine would not move. Frisbee said, quote, we had to muscle him to the car. And boy, he jumped right in there and laid in the back seat when he did.
It's an untrained dog. It's not. And also, there were no footprints in the mud, so we thought it was maybe this kid. How's this kid get around? Keep it together,
Frisbee's got flawed logic. One time when I was standing and talking to the Pomeranians, a painting fell off the wall and a coffee cup jumped right off the table. End quote. But a Signal ghost hunter named Steve Prozac Shippey does not believe things that were happening in the home were a hoax or a prank or caused by gas, electricity, or anything else in this realm. Prozac believed investigators proved what the culprit was. He said, quote, to me, when you spent all those resources, can't prove anything either way, you did prove that it's paranormal activity. There is no paranormal case in the world with even a tenth of this police activity.
Police activity?
Yeah, because all the cops and stakeouts and stuff, which I think he's exaggerating. Prozac did posit the rumor that the Pomeranians were cursed after they had a dispute with their neighbor. The neighbor was supposedly a witch. The lady approached the Pomeranians several times to buy his home, and after refusing her offers, the Pomeranians had had enough and had a heated exchange with the woman, according to Prozac. He said, quote, he said some choice words to her. The rumor is that she may have cast a spell on their home for refusing to sell it to her. End quote.
Okay. I feel like the wildest things that happened in that story were not the actual haunting. I feel like the stuff that happened surrounding it were stranger than the loud bangs and the coffee cup falling. Like, yeah, it sounds like it's haunted.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a very strange police officer group, a very strange researcher, and then a potential next door witch that put a hex on him. Like,
yeah.
That's the meat of the story there. That's like, what's going on? Like, yeah, sure, it's haunted, but
yeah,
got cursed.
I
Was she lowballing him? Coming in those witch offers, those
lowball. They just weren't ready to move.
If someone came, every house has the right price. You'd move tomorrow if someone came with the right price.
Well, I guess that's true. I don't know. She must have been lowballing. Not enough.
Yeah. Go do some potions and make some more green and come back with a better offer. That's what he probably said.
They're pretty ballsy.
Well, something pissed her off.
So I've got a couple encounters on Dice Road. And this was from review/mag from Joshua. He said, I grew up in the Hemlock area and heard stories of Anna before I actually saw her. I was 10 years old when I first saw her in the woods around the cemetery. I'd been riding my bike down Dice Road and glancing toward the cemetery, and she was standing there in the woods, staring at me. I wasn't afraid because she seemed sad or lost, and she was very pretty. She looked transparent. People say ghosts are white, but she had a light blue, pinkish type color. I've seen her several times since. When I was a kid, I took friends there to see her, but they claimed they saw nothing. It may sound crazy, but after you see something like that, it changes you. It makes you aware of things that you never thought were real. For some reason, Anna doesn't allow a lot of people to see her. I'm glad she chose me. And she's not evil. She's never appeared to be anything but calm and gentle. End quote.
All right, it might be real. All right, it might be real.
I think it's a really nice way to look at it. Maybe this kid's just really sensitive.
Yeah, it feels like if he's seeing her multiple times, it doesn't quite seem like right place, right time. Like he just might be somebody more apt to see this entity.
Yeah.
Which I guess in the end is right place, right time. I just mean like somebody who's not sensitive as much like you or me.
Mm-hmm.
We could go 50 times, so we might see her once. If that. Or like some sign. But if you can see her multiple times within a short period of time, maybe it wasn't a short period of time, but
even so, could you imagine going with your friend to a cemetery? He's like, there she is. It's just nothing.
That would, yeah.
That'd be very creepy.
It would be very, very creepy.
Or call the doctor.
Like, yeah, there she is.
Yeah.
You're right, Josh.
Let's go home now.
Yeah, I'll drive. It's fine.
And this last from Dice Road is from Gina. I found this on Facebook.
Oh.
One time my Aunt Diane and I went there. When we arrived, we were quite sure that we were alone. No other cars or people were there. As we were walking around, looking at the graves, a woman appeared out of nowhere and started talking to us. It startled us because we were sure we were alone. I can't remember the topic of her conversation, but as quickly as she appeared, she was gone. We've been there several times since we live in Hemlock, but that was the only experience we've ever had in the area. End quote.
It's interesting how the road gets a rep for being haunted when really it's nothing. It has nothing to do with the road. It's just 3 points, data points on the road.
Yes.
Haunted.
Yeah.
The road's like, I'm fine. Like, don't put me in this. I didn't build these places.
It's definitely picked up the reputation. And the cemetery is, I think, the most haunted place. But it's interesting. It's not like a really aggressive haunting. But we can talk more about that in the discussion. We're just really presenting the ideas here. So let's talk about our next story in Vermont. Route 2A in Vermont, Uristock County, is home to a very dangerous strip of road. This road is particularly known to get very icy and dangerous during storms. Many people have lost their lives trying to traverse this road. Now, this road is known to be home to a loud spirit. And I'm going to be real honest, this is the only encounter I found for it. It's from The Rock. And it goes like this, quote, "What makes this area the most haunted in the county is that people have seen a woman screaming that her husband is trapped in their vehicle and begging for travelers to stop. But when the traveler stops and tries to get close to her, she vanishes away. Others travelers say they've seen a little girl on the side of the road that is said to have been killed by a semi-truck many, many years ago." End quote. I could not find any more. So I do not know the credibility of this, but we can talk about that later. I just want to present that little encounter, that little story from Uristock County.
I feel like that, does the lore of it sound any worse than Route 90 during a bad storm?
Route 90?
Yeah. Here.
Is that bad?
Yeah, because it's on the lake.
Oh.
Have you never, well, you're Cleveland, so you don't go much north.
No.
Yeah, if you take Route 90, because if you're going to Cleveland to Erie, where I'm from, or that way, it goes, it is, you see those huge pileups where there's snow and you can't see and whiteouts and stuff. And it's right by the lake, so you get the lake effect snow. Coming from someone who is traversed that, anytime, holidays, I would go home and then go back to Akron. It was always that road. One time it took me 4 hours to, just to get from my house where I came, my parents' house. So.
And it's not a 4-hour drive. That's an hour drive.
It's an hour and a half. And a half. And I know people in LA that's every day to work. But it just, for me, that's just kind of I feel like that's any northern highway stretch is you're gonna get ice, you're gonna get accidents and whiteouts, and
especially I think it's in the mountains too of the Appalachian.
Well, Vermont is extra, it's way up there. But the lake effect, I don't know. I know that one just feels like bad weather conditions naturally make that road rough.
I agree with that. I wish I would have found more stories about these women on the highway.
Just going around, loud ghosts. I had to hold back. Well, you said it doesn't matter.
Well, I know now.
You asked a question when you started it. Go back in your notes.
Oh.
What was the very first thing you said about this road?
Oh, this road?
This road, the first thing you heard.
What makes this area the most haunted road in the county?
I was going to say, it doesn't matter what makes this road haunted because of the rock. You said this from the
Oh
rock.
my God. Can you smell this road is cooking?
Ice.
Ice and dead women. So let's move on to our next.
It's my new cologne.
Ice and Dead Women by Dior.
It's Bath and Body Works. Come on.
Let's move on to our next story. Prospector Road in Garden Valley, California.
Good news, Bizarros. You have a new premium paranormal podcast to add to your repertoire.
Sightings is a new series that invites you inside the world's most mysterious and unexplained events.
From legendary encounters like Bigfoot and Roswell to less known phenomena like the Polaroid Ghost Rider.
Where a ghost allegedly communicated with a pair of roommates by writing on the exposures of thousands of Polaroid photos.
Fun fact, that's also how we plan all of our production meetings too.
One thing that really separates this show from other podcasts is the style that Sightings is told in.
Imagine not only hearing the stories told, but putting you directly in the action with heart-pounding storytelling.
It's kind of like living out a dream of mine, to be honest.
You can look forward to episodes that cover the Kyome UFO crash, the Lizard Man of Skateboard Swamp, Dyatlov Pass mystery, the Hill abduction, and more.
I got to listen to the first episode pre-drop, and let me tell you, I'm kind of jealous that you get to listen to it for the first time. From the storytelling to the in-depth sound design, it really drags you in as a listener.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, step inside the stories you only thought you knew with Sightings.
New episodes every week. Look for Sightings on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So this road. Listen, when I was researching it, I got on a whole side tangent about Proctor Road, not Prospector Road.
Okay. There's a song called Proctor Road.
I didn't continue with it because I realized I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. And that's not Prospector Road. But apparently there's a whole monster on Proctor Road near San Diego. This is not that. This is up near San Francisco.
Okay. Bay Area.
Yeah. Because it's where the 49ers.
Sure.
Prospectors. So this road in California is named after many prospectors that worked their claims in this area. Those that travel down this windy road may have found the paranormal fury that could have caused accidents on this pavement. The ghost that people claim to see only says one thing. He says, quote, "Get off my claim." End quote. Now, I do have a pretty lengthy tale from a couple named Frank and Ruth. They lived in a cabin off of this road for a long time. And this is from OnomonAlien.com. And it's written, I think it was an article at one point. They interviewed this couple. They took this article and put this on this website. Goes a little bit all over the place. It talks about their experiences in the home. And then it talks about their neighbors having experience in the home as well. And then it cuts to one more experience, which I really like at the end. So, quote, "There is the story of Frank and Ruth Cooper. Late one night, Ruth awakened from her fretful slumber, feeling cold and strangely apprehensive. She knew she had made a good fire in the wood-burning stove, and before retiring to her 2-story cabin, it should still be warm. Still, she felt something was wrong. Was there an intruder in the house? She awakened her husband, and together they went downstairs. Frank had locked and bolted the front door earlier in the evening. Now it was completely ajar. The bolt pin remained in the outward position, yet the wall slot, where it should still be secured to the wall, had been torn out. They could find no evidence of forced entry, except the mystery of the unexplained open door. Everything appeared to be as it should. That is, except for the dog. Hearing a frightened yelp, they turned to find their pet huddled and trembling in the corner of the room. Ruth hugged her husband as they looked outside in the darkness. They could see nothing unusual. Thus was the family introduced to the ghost of the Prospector Road. This apparition is described as residents as attired in work clothing. To those that were able to see him, he appeared semi-transparent, tall and craggy, sporting a beard. To those who could not see him, he is a pesky, annoying trickster. Most folk believe his purpose is to keep people away from the claim he never recovered. The Cooper cabin is in dense underbrush, barely visible from the road, an ideal place to allow a dog to run at will. This was a deciding factor in the couple's decision to rent the cabin. The boxer, however, didn't take advantage of his privilege. He refuses to go out from his undersides, passing up each opportunity to corner a rabbit or chase a deer. Frank and Ruth had observed the tall field grass spreading as if someone was walking through it when no one was there. Occasionally, they would hear sounds of footsteps. At such times, Buster would growl softly and cause the hairs on the back of his neck to bristle. Not from their landlord, of course, but from the neighbors. The Coopers learned that the former occupants of the cabin had hurriedly left the premises, once in the middle of the night, leaving their possessions behind. Quote, "We moved here because we like the country," Ruth said. "We often find dishes and other small objects moved around, and sometimes it will be broken. Anyway, we've decided to stay here, at least until something really, and I mean really, disturbing happens," Frank added, glancing over his shoulder. "Strange things have happened here since we moved here," Ruth continued, "and the matter of the front door lock was only the first. One evening, we heard the children shouting and banging from the room in their bedroom. Frank and I investigated, and we found out the door had been locked from the outside. This was impossible, as the only other people in there was Frank and myself. When this happened several times, Frank took the lock off. I figured this would be the end of the problem." Ruth lit a cigarette with a somewhat shaky hand and said, "It wasn't, though. There was also an old-fashioned lock on the door, the kind where you have to insert a key. Well, our landlord said he didn't know of the existence of the key, so not to concern ourselves with it. So one day the kids were locked inside the room, but this time an invisible key was turned by an invisible something. Maybe the ghost really liked the kids after all, because it let them out. Anyway, after that, Frank removed the doors, and the children just had to make do with doorless bedrooms. The gun incident was the craziest," said Frank, gesturing to the air. "One evening, when the children had all gone to their friend's house to spend the night, I did not bother to unload my .22 rifle. There was no one here who could get hurt with it, so I propped it up against the front door for the night. When we got up the next morning and went downstairs, I found all the bullets next to the gun lying on the floor. Now, how was that possible? Then there's one story about the shed," said Billy. Billy's a neighbor, and he was talking to his father. And he quickly reminded his father that the shed had a lock on it, and it could only be hitched from the inside. Now, his father said, taking up the story, the shed had no windows, and only one door. This door had a lock and key, so it can be locked from the outside too. But sometimes when I'm inside, and I don't want to be disturbed, I will lock it from the inside. Well, one day, we found the door locked from the inside. The lock is one of those bars across, not one that could be tripped up by itself. It would definitely have to take someone from the inside of the building to lock it. And yet when I called out, no one answered from inside. When Billy got home from school, we broke the door down, taking half the door with it. I made Billy wait outside, and I went into the building with a gun, thinking perhaps a vagrant had gotten into it. Actually not knowing what to think, but there was no one inside. Not a trace of a person. Somehow the door was locked from the inside without any way for whoever locked it to get out. Now that's impossible. It's simply impossible." And this is the last little bit of the story. This comes from an outside perspective, and this is someone who's traveling through the road at night. I'm not entirely sure how they got this story, but I'll still tell it. On a cold, blistery night, about 10:30 p.m., a waitress returning from her job in Como drove the winding road on Marshall Road, just above the area where the ghost had been seen on Prospector Road. The road was slick. Wanting to get home as soon as possible, she had only rubbed the front windshield of her driver's side of the car clean to see. The rest of the windshield remained covered in ice. As she turned the curve, which placed her car just above the area where the stagecoach stop had been, where the ghost had been known to stay, she heard a loud crash on the passenger side of her windshield. Embedded in the frost appeared to be a distant outline of an outstretched arm and hand. She feared she must have hit someone. Through the mountain road was deserted a lot of this time at night. Certainly no person in the right mind would venture to walk it. The driver then pulled off to the side, taking out her flashlight, trembling, got out of the car, and searched the road and embankment for a body. There was none. She looked for a fallen branch, anything that could have crashed into her windshield, leaving a mark. Nothing. Shaking, she got back into her car, looking at the mark of the windshield. The hand and arm did not begin to fill in with the frost again until she reached her home, 4 miles away. That same night, at approximately the same time, a strange voice was heard outside of the young couple's cabin. They had seen the waitress's car lights ascending Marshall Road just above their house on the old stagecoach stop as the family carried a final load of firewood from the truck into the cabin. The voice was heard distinctly. It said, "Stay away from my claim." End quote.
That sounds real. That one sounds real. The woman. And she was doing Uber, and the person in the backseat happened to be a narrator.
Exactly. Hey, I'm not sure how they got that last story. Maybe they found her after. I don't know. But that is the tales of Prospector Road.
And you said it's in San Francisco?
It's near San Francisco. Outside of.
I know it's not impossible to get snow there. And I know there's certain parts of California where you can like ski and stuff like that. But is it weird that there's like icy road?
No, it's in the mountains.
Okay.
So
it's not like right by San Francisco.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it gets cold in there. It's in a valley, so it's down the valley. Yeah, it's definitely possible for the cold. Interesting, that's your only takeaway.
It seems like one haunted house.
Yeah.
Again.
Well, that's the perspective of the person in the house on the road, you know?
What are you talking about, like Ruth and...
Yeah, Ruth and Frank. Like, there may be other parts of the road, but you're right. It does seem like one spot is like haunted.
All the places that have doors and locks on the road are in trouble. There's just a blacksmith that's just like hiring this ghost. Like, hey, go fuck their locks too. I'll fix them. I'll change them.
Yeah, it's a plot.
Yeah.
So the next tale I've got is the tale of Clinton Road in New Jersey.
I've heard of this one. I'm surprised you knew Route 66. That one's haunted, isn't it? Or
there's a bunch of haunted roads. There's a lot of haunted.
When I think haunted road, and it's funny because I can't pinpoint a specific thing. I always think of Route 66.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I just said I can't pinpoint an exact story.
Okay.
When I think of haunted roads, Route 66 is one of the first ones that comes to my head.
I think Clinton Road is the one I think of, but
Clinton Road, out of all of these, Clinton Road is the one that I have heard of.
That's why I saved it for last. I fear this would be the most popular.
Those are the opening bands. You don't know any of the songs. You just kind of vibe into it, and then the lights go out, and they just start Clinton Road, Clinton.
Really
Road.
Good name for a band. It'd be a super good name
Clinton
for a
Road.
Band. Yeah, I listen to that band. So a little bit of background. This road is located in West Milford, New Jersey. It's said to be the most haunted road, one of the most haunted roads in America. People claim to see headlights and trucks appear out of thin air and follow them closely. And it's also said that a ghost of a young boy who drowned underneath a bridge has the habit of throwing coins back to those that toss them in the water. That is all I found about the background of the road. Apparently someone said it wasn't like a main road, it was like a service road. So it's not very long. It's got like service structures on it.
Okay. I don't know anything about the makeup of the road.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't really know anything about it. I just know in the world of haunted roads, this one exists.
It's a thing. I've actually got 2 encounters from people that claim to have traversed Clinton Road. They're both from Reddit, old reliable. This first one is from, you're going to love this name, Leonardo No Caprio.
That's so good. That's so good.
It's very good, yeah.
That's so good.
He said, quote, "This was a couple years ago. I was still in college. I worked for a local high school in South Jersey on the night shift for some extra money. But unfortunately, the hours meant I didn't really get to have a life during the week. I got a call from my friend group on Friday before I headed into work saying that they were going to explore Clinton Road, which was known to be the scariest road in New Jersey. Obviously, I couldn't go, so I told them to let me know how they made out. Later in the night, I get a call from them in panic, saying all the crazy things happened to them. They described what happened to them and how they threw coins over Ghost Boy Bridge and they came back and a ghost truck followed them and the feeling of being watched. And I thought they were just hyping it up because I missed out. So it was decided that we'd all go the next night. But this time, I got to see it for myself. Something I regret for the rest of my life. Us being from South Jersey, Clinton Road is a bit of a drive for us, about 2 hours. So there was plenty of time for us to get all hyped up and spooked out. Now, I can describe myself as being a manly man of the group, being 6'5" and 260. I had the persona of, it's all made up. Nothing will scare us. But I was wrong. Right when we got there, the entire vibe changed from, we're going to be spooked to, wait, this is actually really creepy. The road is in the middle of the woods. Houses few and far between. The first thing we see when we get there is a small, mini castle-looking building. Is the best way I could describe it. And because of the far ride, we all had to pee. So I went to the left, my friend Joe went straight, and our third friend, Har, went to the right. And after I was done, I immediately walked back to Har, but we noticed Joe walking toward the creepy building. I started shouting, asking what he was doing, and he turns back with a look of shock. Me being completely confused, I asked, "What were you walking out there for?" Joe swore up and down that I was actually behind the building, waving at him to follow me behind the building. So naturally, we're getting a little freaked out, and we pull up to the bridge, Ghost Boy Bridge. And I check everyone for coins to make sure they didn't fake it just to scare me. So we all threw our coins, and nothing happens. I say, see guys, it's all in your head. Let's go. So we start walking back to the car. And then cling, cling, cling. I hear the coins hit the road. We sprint back, and we check to find the coins laying on the road. And I was 100% convinced they were just messing with me. So I had the idea to mark a coin so they couldn't fake it. And I threw that coin to the water, waited 5 minutes in silence, and nothing. And I say, "See guys, let's go." I hear cling again. I hear the coins in the road. And I walk back, and I'll be damned, it was the coin with the exact marking I put on it. So I'm getting really freaked out at this point. So we decided to go drive down the windy road. And it's a newer sports car, and we're all freaked, and we just want to leave. And we see headlights appear from behind us, seemingly out of nowhere. We did not see them attached to a vehicle. I'm no car expert, but I bet my life they were lights on an old truck. Getting closer and faster we went, taking bends at fast speeds that even a new truck wouldn't be able to handle. And then suddenly, the lights disappear. So now, all in a panic, we decide to pull over, map out our way, and dead silence. No lights except our headlights in the woods. We hear a typical woman ghost moan. And of course, what came with it was a typical woman in a white dress, standing in the woods, right next to a car. And she let out the loudest scream I've ever heard. So we are screaming at this point, and we get out of Dodge. Once we make it back to the main road, we decide to go a little deeper into the road. Apparently, this ghost truck tries to make people crash on Dead Man's Curve. There have been numerous bodies buried there from the famous murderer, the Iceman. On our way home, we wanted to go back again the next night, but we passed an old rundown church that looked like it hadn't been used in 50 years. And of course, the sign left in front said, "You need Jesus on Sunday." Safe to say, we never went back. Even up to this day, the friend group still refuses to talk about what happened that night in Clinton Road. End story.
Okay. Okay. I'm sure 100% of that happened.
I think it all happened at once.
Yeah, well, twice, because it happened, and then he got FOMO, and then thankfully, as we know, Paranormal Activity, it all replicated and went even further the next day, including a ghost woman screaming.
Yeah. So are you saying you're a little skeptical about this?
No, actually, I think it was one of our listener submissions we've done, a collection.
Okay.
We had a story that you read it. It was your episode, and it was about a person being followed by ghost lights. Was that this road? I feel like we've talked about this road now.
Dude, it could have been Clinton Road.
We paused the episode. I remembered it because I made the graphic. It was about the graphic.
Oh,
and
man.
Listener Submission Collection, Volume 7, the first story was Clinton Road. I knew it sounded familiar.
That's really creepy.
That's why it sounded familiar. And it was the ghost lights.
That's very scary.
Notice he didn't say anything about the coins or the ghosts.
He just had one experience instead of 17.
Yeah, but you know what? If they had 17 experiences, good for them. I would write about it on Reddit too.
I've got one more experience from Reddit about this road. It's a little bit shorter. And this is from Scared Television. It said, "So I used to live near an infamous road. It's a thin road with no street lines and has only a few houses on the end, lined with thick woods. There are no street lights, and we heard stories like ghosts being spotted in the woods, weird beasts, creepy vibes, and penny thrown off a small bridge coming back to you. My boyfriend and I decided to drive down it one night. It was a small stick shift car. The road had several pull-offs where you could park and sit. We pull off the first one, and we take some footage of the woods. Nothing happens. So I continue driving and pull up to the next. We parked and shut off the car, and we heard some rustling. We both assumed it was an animal moving out of the side of the parked car. So we sat for a few seconds in the dark woods, and we hear something hit the car, like a rock or something. We then heard several pounds on the trunk and roof. And at this point, we decided to drive off. We attempted to start the car to no avail. tried several times before it eventually did start. And then he put it in gear and stepped on the gas. The car stood still. I was freaking out and told him to stop messing around, and he said he wasn't. Then the car, while in first gear and the gas pedal depressed, began to pull backwards. Against all logic, the car was fighting to go forward against something that wasn't viewable. The taillights lit up in the forest behind us, and there was nothing there. Out of nowhere, the car miracle jumps forward, and we drove away, and we pull off. Blown away by the experience we just had, we decided to find another pull-off. This was stupid. The one we found was before the bridge where the pennies are thrown. We toddled toward the bridge, and we throw a penny. And we hear it hit the small stream. We look back, and we swear we see something walking behind the car. We rush back to the car, and there's no sign of anyone. And this was the last straw. We decided to get off the road ASAP. We get in the car, we speed off, and as we're driving, something small hits and chips the windshield. Didn't sound like a rock. It sounded like metal. Whatever was on the road either wanted us gone or to never leave. We haven't gone back since. End quote. I like that story a little bit more. It's a little more realistic.
Yeah. If true, it's a haunted ass road.
Yeah. So those are our 4 haunted roads. We could talk about haunted roads probably for another 4 years. There's so many. But let's talk about more of these roads in the discussion. I really like 2 of these 4 roads. The other 2, that's not that I don't like them. I just wish there was more.
Here's what I think. I think we have 1 road with bad weather conditions.
Yes.
I think we have 4 haunted locations. And I think we have 1 haunted road. That's my theory.
Is Clinton Road the haunted road?
Yes. I think Clinton Road is haunted, or has stretches of haunted. Let me put it this way. Let's pretend everything you've said in this episode is real.
Yeah,
Reddit
sure.
or not. Let's pretend 100% of it is fact.
Yes.
I think 1 is truly a haunted road, Clinton Road.
Yes.
I think the one in Vermont is just bad weather conditions.
I
guess that's
right.
going against me saying that everything you said is true. I think it's just bad weather.
I do wish there was more about those ghosts. The apparently ghosts there. There's not. I couldn't find anything.
I think that the first road that you talked about with
Dice
the 3
Road?
locations, I think those are 3 haunted locations on this road. And I think the Prospector one is just that cabin. It's just very, very haunted by a ghost that messes with locks. Like, it just sounds like a very haunted home.
I surprisingly really agree with you. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the most haunted road here, I was going in expecting that, like, I was going to hear, like, stories of, like, ghosts appearing in the back seat, like, almost like that Cursed Game.
Or a hitchhiker type of thing. Or,
Yeah.
okay, I see what you mean. Like, mile 1 this, mile 2 that.
Mhm.
When I think of haunted road, it's either bridge, which we kind of did, where you talked about Clint with, like, the coins, or it's, the headlights. What was Weird Willis? James Willis was talking about that road. Where's like a motorcycle? He was talking about how like you saw the orbs or the lights going across. Like, when I think of haunted roads, it's like haunted, like where you're likely to see like the headlights or a haunted vehicle or a haunted hitchhiker.
Yes, the haunted hitchhiker is what gets me the most. I think that's what I expect mostly. And then like you like think you drop him off and he pops back up.
But we got the lock trickster.
I think you're right. I think there's a very haunted house located on the road.
Yeah, I mean, then you could put like, if you think of any haunted location, then you could just call that road haunted then, right? Like whatever Waverly Hills is on or whatever like Sally House is on, you know what I mean? Now I will say Dice Road, the fact that 3 locations are on it is only 13 miles. There's a little more leeway to just make it easy. Yeah. Like instead of saying, oh, the road that has 3, like you can just say this haunted road. That one makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Even though I like the way, like I think, because now we're just getting in semantics. Like I think for ease and convenience, saying Dice Road's haunted is a quick elevator pitch way of saying there's 300 locations on it. I don't think, I wouldn't call Prospector Road haunted.
See, the thing about Prospector Road is I think what's weird about it is that there's one claim, this one spot, not necessarily the house is haunted, and the road cuts to that claim as well. Like he like staked out a whole like half acre of his own.
Yeah, I guess it would just need more stories, I guess, to like back that up.
I agree with
but
that.
I mean, that is the legend, I guess. But just based on what we're given. Because when I think of like a haunted road, it's like the road. Kind of was joking earlier about how it's like dangerous, like monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Like the road is haunted, not things slightly off the road.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
But that's all. It depends on just how you take the phrasing haunted road.
It really does boil down to that. Because if you look at Clinton Road, like that's like you're on the road. There's ghosts like actively chasing you. Now, Dice Road, you probably don't have that as much. It's more about seeing things on the side, like that kid Josh. He rode his bike down that road, didn't feel anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like where I grew up, right? There's this road, Canal Road. Supposedly, it was supposed to be one of those haunted roads.
Yeah.
Actually, did I tell you the other night? A couple weeks ago, I was going down that road, and it was like 12:30, and I was like,
in the morning?
"Oh, yeah."
What were you doing at 12:30 in the morning?
I was coming from my grandma's house or something.
Okay. You late night partying with grandma. I'm down with that. That's cool.
I was up at my Alex's house.
Okay.
And Steph was asleep, and we had cut through Canal Road. I was like, "Ah, shit, I don't like this at all." I was fearful. Like, I was actually fearful because I was so scared I was going to get the ghost. I know that it's probably not even really haunted, but I did have one of my most visceral experiences on that road. I don't know if did I ever tell you about that story.
I don't think so.
Can I tell you about it right now?
Yeah, go for
it. Yeah, who doesn't give a shit about time? So there's this old museum on Canal Road. It looks like a house, and it's got like the channel locks by it because it actually is a canal off the Cuyahoga River. And I was out with a couple friends. It must have been right after high school or during high school. And we decided we were going to go ghost hunting in this park after night. And we got out of the car. We had like, I think a ghost meter, and we were trying to get EVPs.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And now it is a canal by a lake. So the bugs make sense. But the thing is, we got out of the car, we walk a couple steps, and then almost like lights descend. Like we see like a lot of like orb-like things. And in my head, I rationalize it by being like fireflies, but it was like way too late for that. It was probably like 11:30, midnight. But it's like so lit up with like these like orbs that it's almost like daylight. And we look in the window, the top right window of this house, this old museum that's been around since Ohio's been around.
1803.
Yeah. And we see this woman in a dress.
You have told me, but I don't think you've ever told it on the podcast before.
Yeah. I don't think about it that often because it really freaked me out. And I see it. And I look at my friend Mike, he sees it. And I look at my friend Nick, and he sees it. And we all say, "Do you see that?" Yeah. And we all say, "Yeah." And we fucking run. We got in the car.
You got in the car, though, right? You didn't you just ran home.
Yeah, we ran.
We left the car.
It was close enough to my house. We could have walked it. But we jumped in the car and we got out of there.
See the difference between your story and the one you just told on Reddit? Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, there's just a feeling you get. Like, I love a good horror story. But there's just a different feeling you get when you're like, when it passes the sniff test. Like you could read the scariest story, but if you hear a story that's tamer, but you truly is like, that really happened.
Yeah.
It just hits differently.
It was just so wild. Like, well, that really happened to me.
Somebody probably just put a mannequin up in that window.
In my mind, I think if I go in there, am I going to see like a cutout, like a silhouette?
We should go.
It's open at tours. We should go in there.
Yeah. Or at night. We're not supposed to.
Okay.
I think there's a gray line between a haunted road versus haunted stuff on a road. You know what I mean? Like, at least all these roads had something on them.
Yes.
I guess. But yeah, I mean, Clinton Road has like so much stuff going on for it. Like, and they might all be little urban legends, but I think that's what makes it a haunted road.
I have two really important questions for you. Let me ask them at the same time.
Oh, at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what I mean? One after the other.
1, 2.
First, do you genuinely believe any of these encounters that we told? And 2, if you believe one, does that make this believable?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes. I think some of these are just legitimate hauntings.
Yes.
Like, you know, I mean, if you guys are longtime listeners, this is episode 234. We both believe in ghosts. We both believe in hauntings. I think that I think probably at least 2 of the 3 in the first Dice Road are hauntings. I think the Prospector Road, at least Ruth and Frank's cabin.
Super.
Yeah, I mean, you got doors locking on the wrong sides, kids getting locked in. I mean, they're like, it's not even the type of haunting that you can ignore. Like, dude started taking doors off the hinges.
Yeah.
Like, it turned into
the bullets came out of the gun.
It turned into a college campus bathroom. Just like no stall doors, just have fun.
Yeah.
Showering with the door. He said just bedrooms. He didn't say bath. I was purposefully listening for that. But I mean, if you're taking like that's the type of action. The story we did recently where it was a listener's story. I think it was a listener's story. It might have been Lickford Bridge. Where she was like, we put the thing up to stop the door from opening, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you start taking actions in your house, when you start modifying your house because of unexplainable, potentially paranormal actions, that's a step towards, okay, there could be a legitimate haunting here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like me, when the time changes, I just learned to subtract time, like on my clock. Now, if the ghost was changing stuff, you know what I mean? It's just like, and I see that seems irrelevant, but there's a certain amount of deal with it.
How much are you going to change your behavior?
Yeah. How much deal with it are you willing to give certain things in your home? And I think for paranormal stuff, like if it's the difference between, cabinet doors open every now and then to people who have baby locks in their room and their house and there's no babies.
I was about to say, yeah.
You know what I mean? Then it's like, okay, if you're starting to modify your home because of unexplainable events, that's haunting because no one else is going to put forth that effort into something like that if you don't have that strong belief system behind it.
Man, going back to one of your favorite 3 movies, right? The Conjuring.
Yeah.
They modify their life so much because of what's going on in their house. They all move in the same room.
Yeah.
Oh,
great child acting. So to go back to your original question.
Yeah.
Yes, I think some of these are true or hauntings. No, I don't think Prospector Road is haunted. No, I don't think the second road in Vermont is haunted.
Mm-hmm.
And
Dice is kind of on the road.
Dice is a dicey. It's a gray area because I think there's an argument on both sides. I think you could do the argument the road isn't haunted, but there are locations on the road that are haunted.
Yeah,
and I think you could also make an argument. It's like if it's 13 miles and 3 places are truly very haunted, just say it's a haunted road. I think there's a give and a take. You could sway me either way on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I think Clinton Road, based on all the urban legend, based on the way that you're framing in this episode a haunted road. Even if it's not 100%, it's actually probably the least believable, but it is the most fitting of what a haunted road in my mind is.
Right. And I believe it though. I'm going to go believable for this because I think Clinton is haunted. I do.
It's really how you're framing this.
It is. It really is.
Well, it's haunted road.
Haunted roads.
Skeptical.
That's fair. I understand where you're coming from.
There are hauntings in this episode, though.
Yes, yeah.
Now, is it the road? Clinton Road is the most... And you know what's funny is because I was thinking, like, maybe it is really notorious. But then at the same time, it might just be in my brain because of that listener submission.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though. We got someone who actually experienced this.
Yeah. I didn't go unbelievable. I think that, like, it's like the pennies things and the woman screaming thing. It's like the ghost headlights... I feel like has the most meat to it and the most likely I'm to believe. I don't know why. I'm bringing obviously my own personal thoughts and biases in it. I am 50% of the damn podcast host. I'm allowed to do that. But like you were saying, you said there's a million of these roads.
Yeah.
There could be a Haunted Roads Part 2, and I might go believable on that episode.
Yeah.
Depending on those roads.
That was fully my intention that we visit this topic again. Because there's so many. Thank you for listening to our Haunted Road episode, which could potentially spill into more, but we'll see what happens.
Thank you for listening. And please reminder on October 26th, 2024, because you could be listening to this years from now, which is kind of dope to think about. We will be having our live Halloween special. It'll be semi-on-site. It'll be in-state. And it'll be live streaming on Twitch starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's our 5th time. There's going to be giveaways, which means we're going to be asking you trivia questions.
Yeah.
And the first people to get them right will be getting free BTB merch.
I guess study up. I don't know how you do that.
Listen to every episode 10 times just in case. What's 10 times 234?
It's a lot. It's a whole lot.
It's commitment. You got a whole month, though.
And if you're liking the episode and you want other people to like the episode, you should just like tell them. I know that sounds weird to say, but word of mouth is a big deal. And you should just go like, hey.
Especially now.
Yeah.
People are looking for
this
spooky
is the
content.
Time. Spooky time.
Instead of rewatching Nightmare on Elm Street for the 50th time, take an hour and a half, and you can knock out 3 early BTB episodes.
You could. Or some very scary ones. Like the Listener Collection Volume 2 has that very scary story.
Yeah, the Pale Man.
Yeah.
This is recent, but the possession of Clara.
Oh yeah, that was
Seeley,
very scary.
Ouija board demon.
Annalise
Michelle.
I was gonna say Gottliebman too.
Pretty much anything with demons. Pretty spooky. But yeah, the word of mouth goes a long way. And by the way, I like Nightmare on Elm Street, so don't come after me. It's a great movie. We all love Robert Englund.
It was fun.
It's a lot of fun.
So if you do like the show and you want other people to also like the show, we said, tell people, but also leave a review on Apple and or Spotify.
Oh, yes.
If you leave a review on Spotify, you can do it on every episode.
Every single one.
And from the last episode, the creepy things that are not things in the cameras.
The baby monitors.
Yes. What would you say? Weird occurrences or strange occurrences?
Yeah. I think I changed it to moments on like YouTube, but there's a million different ways to say it.
Yes.
It's baby monitors.
Baby monitors.
Spooky baby monitors.
I got a couple of comments from Spotify. They said...
Was one of them Owlet asking if they can sponsor an episode?
Unfortunately, they did not seem to get back to us.
That's a bummer.
This is from the Grappleford. Yeah, the Grappleford. They said, was having a rough day today, but got totally turned around when I saw this got dropped. Y'all literally made my day better. Thank you.
Like, I love baby monitors. This is great. Finally. That's what this podcast has been missing.
Baby monitors. 100%.
But honestly, I do really appreciate that response.
I do too. I'm glad we can make someone's day better. It's the only reason I do this. Ashley said, okay, I absolutely love this episode. I know so many people like the listener submissions, but I feel like that's most paranormal podcasts. I love that you guys weren't all about that. Sorry to the people that liked them. LOL.
Well, you're going to enjoy next week then. Might want to skip for a couple weeks.
Wolfco said Connor is also the name in Terminator movies, which is, I think, what I was thinking. And they said, Charlie, you should do an episode about voodoo/witchcraft, satanic rituals. That feels like 2 different topics, but that sounds very interesting to me. It sounds like a topic I would cover. And the last one is from Eddie. They said, I like how a bit of wiggle room means Charlie will blame it on fairies. And you said facts.
But thank you so much for listening to the podcast that's going to go back and ghost hunt and revisit Charlie's trauma. As always, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Charlie.
And catch us next week on Believing the Bizarre.
A podcast as bizarre as you are.